Hello, everyone. My name is Susanna Jett, and I am here to give you a tour of the Experiment Manager software. This is the software you will use in order to enter the magical world of levitation, cell levitation to be more precise. When you first open the software, this is the window you'll see. It should just be a short stop here before it automatically uploads to the main user interface. But if for whatever reason it doesn't automatically upload, you can always click on this icon to access the main UI. The main user interface has 3 standard protocols, a link to system tools, and an exit button. The main difference between the 3 protocols is really just the recommended equilibration time. It takes longer for smaller cells or objects to levitate to their final height. So the minimum equilibration time is to ensure that most of the objects of a given size are close to their levitation height before you start your separation. This is because if you start too early, your enrichment will not be as pure. For small cells, we recommend a minimum of 40 minutes. And for the standard live enrichment, we recommend at least 20 minutes. And for those large cells, 5 minutes. Of course, you can always go over the recommended equilibration time, and I'll show you how to do that later on in the tour. System Tools is an absolute must visit for all new installs when you move your LeviCell to a new location, or if something goes wrong. Systems Check is a health check for the system to make sure that the magnets are aligned, the pumps are working, the LEDs are all lighting up, etc. Run System Check when you first set up your instrument, move it to a new location, or for troubleshooting purposes. Install Test is a bead mix test that we ask our customers to run their first time. The equilibration time is set for 3 minutes. This allows the user to see how the run is prepared and set up. It also allows us to check that everything is working as expected. Initialize Pumps resets the pump so that it's ready to start a LeviCell run. Don't worry, you won't have to come to System Tools just to set up a run. This portion of the setup is already written into each of the 3 protocols. This is here for troubleshooting purposes or to aid in the recovery of a run should you run into a glitch during your experiment. Adjust Focus takes you through the manual process of changing your focus. The best focus is already on each LeviCell, but every once in a while, you'll come across an exception to the rule and need to adjust to a new focal point. Here is where you can deal with those exceptions. Resume Workflow takes you back to the levitation run starting at equilibration, in case the software needs to be restarted for any reason. Exit from this menu will take you back to the previous menu. In fact, let's exit and go back now. To help us with this, I've asked my good friend Dr. M to walk us through a run. He's interested in performing a standard live enrichment with PBMCs. So he'll fill in his username, his experiment name, scan his cartridge barcode, and since he's doing a standard live enrichment, he'll also start with the recommended levitation agent concentration of 150 millimolar. Now the only question is, what should he put in for the split value? This is the only optional field on this page. Well, Dr. M, for a standard live enrichment, you usually do pretty well entering a split value of 0. By entering the split value, you have selected auto run mode. After levitation, the workflow will automatically proceed to separation. Proceed with auto run? Dr. M really wants to make sure he gets a good look at those PBMCs before they start separating. He changed his mind after entering 0 and does not want to auto run. So he will click no at this step. Remember I mentioned you can choose to do a longer than recommended equilibration time? This is how you go about doing so. Leave the split value blank. By leaving the split value blank, it will automatically go into a manual separation mode. At the end of the recommended equilibration time, you can choose to extend your levitation time and give the cells and objects in the cartridge longer to reach your final levitation height by leaving it alone. Just set a timer to keep track of how long your equilibration time was for future reference. The LevitasBio will take images of your run every 3 seconds, based on the channels you choose image acquisition from on the screen. There's a bright field channel, the green channel, which uses a blue LED light, the red channel, which uses a lime LED light. Here, Dr. M can enter yes or Y for the channels he wants images from, or he can enter no, in, or leave it blank for channels he doesn't want images from. Now, Dr. M just needs to hit continue to get started with his run. Once the PBMCs are loaded and in view, Dr. M could click on the radio button of the channel he wishes to view on screen. He can also change the brightness and contrast of the picture by moving the 2 yellow triangles toward the red histogram bars. If the brightness or contrast settings were not enough to get the desired result, he can manually adjust the exposure up to 100,000 microseconds. If a manual run was chosen, once the minimum equilibration time is up, the split line defaults to 0 and is represented by the bright green line on the screen. Dr. M could leave the run alone if he wishes to prolong the equilibration period, or he could drag the split line up or down by 15% to start his separation run. Dr. M decided that he's ready to start his run. He's satisfied with the equilibration. However, Dr. M wants a cleaner separation and decides to move his split line up to 11. He can then click go to begin collecting those slide PBMCs up to the top. A quick side note, there's a trade-off between purity and yield when choosing the split value. The more pure you want your sample, the closer you set your split value toward the band of cells on the top. This also means a lower yield. After the run is complete and the sample from both the top and bottom channel has moved into the collection well, the software will ask you to disengage and remove the cartridge. At that point, you could click on Finish to end your run. It's important that the cartridge is removed or it will not allow you to proceed to finish. Once you click Finish, it will bring you back to the main user interface. Before shutting down the instrument, make sure that the blank cartridge is placed back into the instrument. This will ensure that the magnet stays aligned and the pump connection stays debris-free on your LevitasBio. Now, when you exit from this menu, you'll be back at the first menu you saw when you just opened Experiment Manager. Now that the run is done, here are a few things you might want to know. This button opens up images taken during the experiment. Super useful for going back to look at specific frames, or if you just want a closer look at a particularly cute cell that levitated by. By the way, your images are located in the D drive under the date of your run in the image data folder. These 2 contradictory buttons allows you to zoom in and out of your image at will. But if you ever find yourself lost in the zoom, this button will take you back to the original zoom. I know we covered a lot on this tour and it's hard to remember everything right off the bat. But the good news is, like with every equipment you get in the lab, there's a nice thick user manual to reference when you need it. And for your convenience, ours is always just a click away. And that's the end of the software tour. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it helpful. See you all next time.